Sup, you beautiful bastards? Hope you're having a fantastic Monday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is YouTube is in crisis. Now, a story that in general got overshadowed last week because everyone was kind of freaking out about YouTube restricted mode was that there was a growing international boycott of YouTube and Google ads. We had news coming out of the UK that the British government, Toyota, McDonald's, hundreds of companies are pulling their ads. Then we got the news stateside that AT&T, Verizon, Johnson & Johnson, and others pulled their advertising. Then over the weekend, we saw news out of Australia that Holden and Kia were pulling their advertising. And now the newest and biggest set of news, and I feel like we predicted it on this show, is YouTube's response. And this is news that could massively hurt my channel, any news channel, commentary channels. And we got a peek at what this change would be on the 20th. YouTube wrote this blog post a week ago titled, "Strengthening YouTube for Advertisers and Creators." Writing, "There's a difference between the free expression that lives on YouTube and the content that brands have told us they want to advertise against. Our advertiser-friendly content policy set the tone for which videos can earn revenue, ensuring that ads only appear where they should. After listening to strong feedback from our advertisers, today we announced a number of actions and we want to explain what these changes might mean for you, our YouTube creators. Tougher stance on hate speech. We will be implementing broader demonetization policies around videos that are perceived to be hateful or inflammatory. This includes removing ads more effectively from content that is harassing or attacking people based on their race, religion, gender, or similar categories." Also connected to this was accelerating appeals. Writing, "Today, any creator whose video is demonetized can launch an appeal to have their video reviewed. Moving forward, we plan to improve the process so that reviews can happen even faster." So the question, okay, Phil, they wrote this blog post a week ago, why are you talking about it now? Well, while they posted the article a week ago, they actually implemented changes over the weekend. Although you might not have noticed because it doesn't appear that YouTube or Google emailed the creators. Over the weekend, YouTube pushed through those broader demonetization policies. If you're a creator on this platform, I highly recommend you go through your backlog and see how many of your videos have now been demonetized over the weekend. If you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you know several months ago, I looked at all the videos on my catalog that were demonetized. And now in addition to that, I got dinged 10 more times. I had 10 videos demonetized and I didn't receive a single email. And once again, a big problem for YouTube here is communication. While YouTube did announce a week ago that they would be doing something in the near future, no one received emails, and because videos have been demonetized, without people receiving emails, people have started calling this shadow demonetization. Some going even further and calling this shadow censorship, although I understand why there's a debate there. YouTube needs to calm down existing advertisers to make sure they do not join this mass exodus. I'm testing the new appeal process to see how effective that can be, and I'll update you on that later. I imagine there will be similar cases to other YouTubers that talk about current events, but most of the videos that were demonetized had to do with discussion around race issues. Videos where we discussed people calling others white supremacists, the videos where we talked about the outrage around Dear White People, the series, although I will say that was the first video I put an appeal on and I won that appeal. I got a response for that video pretty fast, so that leads me to believe that they have actually accelerated the appeals process, although that might also be because they're not being slammed right now because people don't realize that their videos were demonetized. But there is also a concern of, will this affect people evenly? And obviously this is going to hit commentary channels more, news channels more, but there is also an argument that if you are not ultra liberal that you will be hit a lot more. Some of it does stem from the restricted mode controversy. A lot of moderate/right-leaning content seem to be restricted at a higher rate, and it feels like it didn't become a mainstream conversation until some LGBT creators were also hit, although not as many of those creators had their entire catalogs restricted. But I also feel like it might be too simplistic to hate on YouTube for this because we're subject to their every whim. And YouTube's in this weird situation where they have to try to make advertisers happy, otherwise they continue to hemorrhage future money. And this is something that affects the small creator all the way to the biggest creators like PewDiePie, whose recent press and the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, all those other places have added fuel to this fire. Google removed Felix's channel from the premium advertising tier, but without a doubt there are advertisers going, you were putting our premium content where we pay even more for safe content next to Nazi jokes and imagery? How can I trust you? And keep in mind, I'm saying that from the point of the advertiser. I still believe that the Wall Street Journal and tons of outlets misrepresented PewDiePie completely, and they took out of context semi-edgy jokes and painted him as the new Hitler, which is ridiculous if you actually looked at the content. But I'm getting off track. And my final thought on this is, while I am concerned because it does appear that it will be harder to make a living for people that talk about the news and pop culture and real issues, I understand that YouTube is in a weird place right now. If you look at this advertiser boycott at this stage, without it even growing further, if you look at it through the lens of 3 to 5 year impact, we're not even talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of ad revenue anymore. We're talking about billions. Billions on billions, so I understand YouTube rushing to change things. And how I'll criticize them moving forward has less to do with which videos get flagged and how fast and how good their appeals process is. And so that'll be something I'll be watching intently. And as far as how this affects this channel and how it affects my aspirations to make a news network, the more that I think about it, the more that I think that fan funding and fan support is the way to go. I think it's one of the only ways that indie organizations can be free of the strings that come with funding, the strings that sometimes come with corporations, in a way that allows them to be truly independent and not potentially lose all their revenue from a day because an automated system said, no money for you. We'll have to wait and see. And a question I want to pass off with this story is, does this concern you about creators you watch on YouTube? If you are a creator yourself, does this concern you? Do you see this as the beginning of the end for some, or is this YouTube growing up? That's the way I saw one person describe it. I'd love to know your thoughts here. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by the DeFranco 2024 shirt. A shirt that says, hey, in a timeline where the world is not in complete ruin by 2024, I will vote for Philip DeFranco. Things have gotten so bad, people are actually willing to vote for that guy. And or it's just a way to help support the show. Either way, if you want to grab this shirt, it is available for the next 5 days, and the link's down below. And the first bit of awesome is a video that takes two things I love and mixes them. And in that case, it was Deadpool and musicals. Specifically, a Beauty and the Beast Gaston parody of Deadpool. I think this is the thing I love most today. I highly recommend it. Then, you've probably already seen it over the weekend, but I gotta share the Justice League trailer, and ooh, say what you will about the final product, Warner Bros. Makes a fantastic trailer. Based on recent movies, I do not know if I'm going to like this movie, but I am a fan of this trailer and it has me all hyped. It's getting me where I want to go, but we'll have to wait for the movie to come out to see if it's a big letdown or just right. Then, if you're a fan of Carpool Karaoke, they released a 15-minute version for Red Nose Day. And then, a bit of awesome I kept getting sent. People kept sharing me a new trend coming from the Thrills of Tomorrow Instagram, and that is glitter booty. People saying, isn't it gorgeous? And I have to say, yes, I am a fan of the picture, but also, two, that seems like a nightmare. I don't even want to walk into a room if someone in that room is doing anything with glitter, let alone caking it onto their body. One spill, you're finding glitter on yourself 3 months later. Can you imagine what these models are going to experience? So thank you for the art, but no thank you for participation. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. Then a quick thing I want to say to the thousands of you that were like, hey Phil, is this you? Linking to an article with the headline, Spring Breakers are abusing sea creatures to get drunk. No, that is not me on the left. One, look at my pasty ass skin. The only thing that describes what color I am is to say it looks like I'm winning a game of hide and seek with the sun. I heard Trevor Noah describe my level of pastiness that way, and I've just ripped it off since. So accurate. Two, I appreciate anyone that thinks that my arms are currently that big. And finally, three, literally the only thing myself and this person in this photo have in common is our straight ass hair. It doesn't even appear to have neck problems. Just wanted to throw that out there. Let's move on. Then in international news, we had 18 people hurt in Hong Kong because an escalator freaked out. There's video of it taking place. The escalator seems to be working fine, and then the escalator breaks in a non-Mitch Hedberg way where it just reverts to stairs. The escalator abruptly goes in reverse and speeds up, throwing all these people that thought the escalator was just going to do its job and not try and kill them. I guess the main point of the story is I'm glad no one died. It could have been a lot worse. And ultimately, never trust technology, because one day technology will kill us all. Once Skynet's up and gains access to the internet, it's gonna see videos like this, it's gonna see those videos from Boston Dynamic, and it's gonna go, hey, gotta get rid of the humans, and we'll start with the escalators. Is that really the point? No, but there's really no other way to end that story. Moving on. And then let's talk about a story that blew up over the weekend. You may have seen one of the headlines. United Airlines refused to let 3 girls board a flight because they were wearing leggings. People shouting, this is an attack on women. This is slut shaming. They're going after leggings now? Is United Airlines standing against comfy clothing that is often flattering? What's the deal? Well, it's slightly more complicated than many of the initial outrage headlines. Shannon Watts, who is there, tweeted, a United gate agent isn't letting girls in leggings get on flight from Denver to Minneapolis because spandex is not allowed? She's forcing them to change or put dresses on over leggings or they can't board. Since when does United police women's clothing? Gate agent for flight 215 at 7:55 said she doesn't make the rules, just follows them. I guess United is not letting women wear athletic wear. And there was a lot of outrage, people saying that they were slut shaming, that they were policing women. Even celebrities like Chrissy Teigen chiming in saying, you know, I've been on United flights with pretty much no pants on. And he asking, why is this happening? Initially, United responding that they were well within their rights, citing the Contract of Carriage Rule 21, where they can refuse entry or remove a passenger from a flight because the passenger is barefoot or not properly clothed. Then putting out another tweet that said the passengers this morning were United pass riders who were not in compliance with our dress code policy for company benefit travel. And then finally in a company post writing, we care about the way we present ourselves to you, our customers, as we believe that is part of the experience on board our flights. One of the benefits of working for an airline is that our employees are able to travel the world. Even better, they can extend this privilege to a select number of what we call pass riders. These are relatives or friends who also receive the benefit of free or heavily discounted air travel on our airline as well as on airlines around the world, where we have mutual agreements in place for our employees and pass riders. When taking advantage of this benefit, all employees and pass riders are considered representatives of United. And like most companies, we have a dress code that we ask employees and pass riders to follow. The passengers this morning were United pass riders and not in compliance with our dress code for company benefit travel. We regularly remind our employees that when they place a family member or friend on a flight for free as a standby passenger, they need to follow our dress code. To our regular customers, your leggings are welcome. Now, in the situation where the 3 passengers were initially denied denied entry. One of the younger girls was later allowed on the flight because she put on a dress. But even with the younger girl getting on the flight, even with United explaining their point of view, there are still many people who are angry. Some arguing that leggings are business casual, especially for a little 10-year-old girl. Many still saying, why are you policing what a 10-year-old girl wears? Leggings are comfortable, they're not obscene. Despite a United spokesperson saying that these past travelers aren't allowed to wear things like spandex leggings, tattered or ripped jeans, midriff shirts, flip-flops, or any article of clothing that shows their undergarments, there are people pointing out in response to this that is not listed in Rule 21. Although the counterpoint there is that it is vague enough. Not properly clothed could be anything that the airline states. And ultimately, the main point I wanted to talk about this is I wanted to pick your brains. Does your response to this news story change as we get more information? The initial story being that 3 girls were refused entry to an airplane because they wore leggings. The new information changes the narrative to representatives of the company were not allowed entry. Does that change the situation for you? Is your reaction different if instead of these girls getting free flights or heavily discounted flights that they paid for the ticket, does that change it up for you because they're getting free tickets? Do you think that there should be a compromise? They should follow those other rules? I'd really love to know your thoughts here, because mine personally are, I think that banning women from entering a plane for whatever reason because they're wearing leggings, I think that's silly. But as stupid as that leggings policy is, if they're running the show and they're giving out free tickets, then maybe you follow the rules. But also there's part of my brain that goes, this can't be the first time something like this happened. It feels like there had to have been some sort of other interaction with the gate agent and the women who were banned from this flight, that the gate agent would choose to make an example of them. It feels like it. Main point, I'd love to know your opinion here. And then let's talk about a big issue. If you're watching this video, you're watching any video, if you're doing anything on the internet. And this is a story that's based in the United States, but it also does have an international impact. And that's often the case with any large, powerful country. When a country does something, the world looks and it can be used as an example. And the reason we're talking about this is the Senate has voted to gut internet privacy. And it was a vote that was split essentially across party lines, Republicans versus Democrats. And a lot of people are freaking out about this right now, and I feel like rightly so. Now, the heart of this situation, the problem right now, it has to do with your choice. Well, lawmakers who voted yes on this bill defended their decision, saying that the FCC restrictions were overly restrictive and innovation stifling. Those who are standing against it are saying that this is the beginning of the end of privacy online. And the only thing keeping this bill from being the new law of the land is it has to go through the House of Representatives and then Donald Trump has to sign it. And once that happens, your internet service provider will no longer have to ask you if you want to share information. They can just start collecting the contents of your communications, your precise geolocation, financial information, ton of stuff. The ISPs won't have to give you a chance to opt out of sharing that information. And if this passes, there's expected to be a transparency problem. According to reports, the FCC ruling forced ISPs to adopt data security practices to protect consumer information and this is the big important part, legally bound them to inform their customers if there was a suspect data breach. So the argument is if the rules are repealed, why would an ISP face that public embarrassment? Why would they risk lowering consumer confidence by telling people, oh, sorry, data breach, whoops, anyway, see you later? So then there's the question of, well, why would they want to gut these FCC regulations? Well, there are people that believe that it's because of the $1.7 million plus spent lobbying members of Congress who voted yes. But there's also the argument that the government should not be involved in this, that it does stifle, as they said, innovation and also profits. Because in large, that's what they're going to do with the information. They are going to make money off of you. They're going to take what you do online, your browsing data, and they're going to sell it to an advertising company. Where you're going, what you're doing, your age, your gender, your shopping habits, nationality, political affiliation, sexual orientation, everything about you. They'll sell that to an advertising company. That company then goes, okay, this is how we hyper-focus, and we can up how effective our advertising is. But also, that's just more information about you, what you do, what you're looking at. Like, again, to the hands of people you don't want to have that information. One of the recent examples was broadband provider TalkTalk. There was a data breach there that exposed the personal details of 157,000 customers, some of which included bank account and credit card information. And so let's say that happened to Verizon in the United States. If they weren't legally obligated to talk about that, why would they disclose that information if it wasn't already publicly available? Now, for some of you out there, you have no expectation of privacy. You don't care what they do with this information. But for those of you out there that do care, you are concerned, you have a problem with this. There's a few things you can do. The first is that you can call your representative in the House. Calling your representative is often considered the most effective, followed by handwritten letters. Then emails and online petitions kind of follow. So that's why if you actually want to have an impact, I highly recommend calling. If you want to find out their contact information, what their number is, I'll include a link down below. Call them and let them know as your representative if you want them to vote this way. They are supposed to be your representative, so remind them of that. And even if they don't care about that, they probably care about getting reelected, so they may listen. Also, I want to take this time to remind you that encryption is your best friend. You can use things like the Tor browser. It's a free open source browser. It encrypts all your incoming and outgoing browsing traffic and relays it through a number of volunteer nodes before sending it to its destination. And what that means is even if the page is unencrypted, it doesn't have that HTTPS, your ISP will be able to see that you're using the browser, but they won't be able to see what websites and web pages you're using. Now, the downside, It's a little slower, and like anything else, there are vulnerabilities there as well, which is why you can also use a VPN, a virtual private network. If you've watched the show for a while, you know that I've talked about this a lot. That encrypts your entire web traffic and puts it in this little secure tunnel. Looked like I was giving a dick an Indian burn. Also finishing that sentence, I understand why I'm not always seen as advertiser friendly. And if any of this is interesting to you, I'll link to it all down below. And that's where I'm gonna end that story. I am very, very concerned about this. This getting pushed through feels like it's the beginning of the end for the idea of net neutrality. A world where the little guy or the new idea gets snuffed out by corporate greed. I'm all for money and corporations making money from this information if users are agreeing to it. But taking away my voice, my opinion, my choice, especially in a world where the ISPs have worked together to limit the number of options you have available in your area for internet, where we don't live in a world where you have 20 choices for ISPs, so if there is a company that is selling your information without giving you a choice, you could easily leave them because there's a free and open market. That's not the case here. Look at where the money came from, look who voted for it. They limit your choices, so it's pointless if you leave them because the only other options also helped fund this bill. And I don't care if you're a liberal or a conservative, anti-competition is anti-American. When you kill competition, especially in an arena like internet, a thing that is heavily needed for so much of what we do every day, you can't be surprised when those companies steamroll over all the customers. But that's where I'm gonna end that one. Of course, whether you agree with me or you don't on this last story, the first one, or anything between, I wanna know what you're thinking today. Leave those comments down below and let's talk it out. And remember, if you liked this video, like what I try and do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. It helps make sure you don't miss these daily videos. But if you did miss the last Philip DeFranco show, you can click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want to see today's brand new behind the scenes vlog, you can click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.